So today we talk about Hamilton's equations of motion and periodic orbits of collision in the restricted three-body problem. Because I wanted to talk about the periodic orbits of collision, but then it needs some Hamiltonian, some background. So I thought that should be also told now. So we'll tell a few basics there. I'm not going in details, but few basics I will be telling. Sir William Rowan Hamilton, born on 4th August 1805, was an Irish physicist, astronomer, and mathematician. He made important contributions to classical mechanics, optics, and algebra. His greatest contribution is the reformulation of Newtonian mechanics, now called Hamiltonian mechanics. This work has proven central to the modern study of classical field theories such as electromagnetism and to the development of quantum mechanics. In mathematics, he is best known for his discovery of quaternion. Hamilton is said to have shown immense talent at a very early age, prompting astronomer Bishop Dr. John Brinkley to remark in 1823 of Hamilton at the age of 18. This young man, I do not say will be, but is the first mathematician of his age. The Hamiltonian method differs from the Lagrangian method is that instead of expressing second order differential constants on an n-dimensional coordinate phase, where n is the number of degree of freedom of the system, it expresses first order constants on a 2n-dimensional phase space. As with Lagrangian mechanics, Hamilton's equations provide a new and equivalent way of looking at the classical mechanics. These equations provide deeper insights into both the general structure of classical mechanics and its connection to quantum mechanics and understood through Hamiltonian mechanics, as well as its connection to other areas of science. So, Lagrange equations, generalized coordinates. There are minimum number of independent coordinates needed to specify the motion of a particle. These coordinates denoted by Q1, Q2, Q1 are called generalized coordinates. The number n of generalized coordinate system is the number of degree of freedom. Many sets of generalized coordinates are possible in a given problem, but a strategic choice can simplify the analysis considerably. Transformation equations from position vector to generalized coordinates. So x nu to x nu function of q1, q2, qn and t. Similarly y and z. Now classification of mechanical systems. Skyrmic and rheomeric systems. Skyrmic systems, time t does not enter explicitly in the equations of motion, and rheomeric systems, the time t does enter explicitly. So that is the difference. Holonomic or non-holonomic systems, if the constants of the system can be expressed as equations having in the form phi q1, q2, qn, t equal to 0 or their equivalent, then the system is said to be holonomic. Conservative or otherwise, you can, the other one we can call as non-holonomic. Conservative or non-conservative systems. If all forces acting on a system or particle are derivable from potential function V, then the system is called conservative. Otherwise, it is non-conservative. So these are some of the definitions. Kinetic energy, generalized velocities. The total kinetic energy of the system is T half sigma nu is equal to 1 to n m nu r dot nu square. So this is how we write half mv square, like that we can write the kinetic energy. Generalized forces. If W is the total work done of a system of particles by forces F nu acting on the nth particle, then we can write the work done. And this is the normal work done which we write. It's called generalized force associated with the generalized coordinate QL Q alpha. Lagrange equations. The generalized force can be related to the kinetic energy of the equations d dt of del T by del Q alpha dot minus del T by del Q alpha equal to phi alpha. If the system is conservative, so that the forces are derivable from a potential or potential energy V, we can write the above equation as d dt of del L by del Q alpha dot minus del L by del Q alpha equal to 0, where L is equal to T minus V. It's called the Lagrangian function of the system, or simply the Lagrangian. The above two equations are called Lagrange equations and are valid for holonomic systems, which may be scleronomic or rheonomic. If some of the forces in a system are conservative, so as to be derivable from a potential V, while other forces such as atmospheric drag, etc., are non-conservative, we can write Lagrange equations as d dt of del L by del Q alpha dot minus del L by del Q alpha equal to phi alpha dash, where L is equal to T minus B and phi alpha dash are the generalized forces with respect to non-conservative forces in the system, like drag, solar radiation pressure. You can add here. Generalized momenta. The generalized momentum associated with the generalized coordinate Q alpha is P alpha is equal to del T by del Q alpha. Dot is there, del Q alpha dot. P alpha is called momentum conjugate to Q alpha, or the conjugate momentum. If the system is conservative with potential energy depending only on generalized coordinates, then above equation can be written in terms of Lagrangian, L equal to T minus V. Then we can just write Lagrangian as T minus V, as P alpha is equal to del L by del Q alpha dot. So some of the basic definitions which we need in our later. Hamiltonian. The Hamiltonian H is defined in terms of Lagrangian L as H is equal to sigma alpha 1 to n sigma, P alpha Q alpha dot minus L, and must be expressed as a function of the generalized coordinates Q alpha and the generalized momenta P alpha. Should be function of Q alpha and P alpha. Q alpha dot we have to write in terms of these Q alpha and P alpha. Hamilton equations. In terms of Hamiltonian, the equations of motion of the system can be written in the symmetrical form. P alpha dot is equal to minus del H by del Q alpha, and Q alpha dot is equal to del H by del P alpha. These are Hamilton's canonical equations or Hamilton's equations of motion. The Hamiltonian for conservative systems. If the system is conservative, the Hamiltonian H can be interpreted as the total energy, kinetic energy and potential of the system. So H is equal to T plus V. Ignorable or cyclic coordinates. A coordinate Q alpha which does not appear explicitly in the Lagrangian is called an ignorable or cyclic coordinate. In such case, P alpha dot is equal to del L by del Q alpha equal to 0. So that P alpha is constant and is called a constant of motion. In such case, we can have del H by del Q alpha equal to 0, because that equation will give you 0. Phase space. The Hamiltonian formulation provides a symmetry between the P alpha and Q alpha, which are called momentum and position coordinates respectively. It is often useful to imagine a space of 2 n dimensions in which a representative point is indicated by the 2n coordinates P1, P2, Pn, Q1, Q2, Kn. Such a space is called 2n dimensional phase space. Whenever we know the state of a mechanical system at time t, we know all position and momentum coordinates. Then this corresponds to a particular point in phase space. Conversely, a point in phase space specifies the state of the mechanical system. While the mechanical system moves in the physical three-dimensional space, the representative point describes some path in the phase space in accordance with Hamilton's equations of motion. So you can have a correspondence there. Canonical transformation. If Q alpha, P alpha are the old position and momentum coordinates, and the capital Q alpha and P alpha are the new position and momentum coordinate, the transformation P alpha in terms of the old coordinates, P alpha, Q alpha T, and capital Q alpha also function of small P alpha, Q alpha T, is canonical if sigma of P alpha d Q alpha minus sigma of capital P alpha d capital Q alpha is an exact differential. I have put an example here. You can see an example. Let us consider a transformation. Capital Q is equal to half Q square plus P square, and P is equal to minus tangent inverse Q by P. We wish to show that this transformation is canonical. We have P delta Q minus P capital delta Q. You calculate this. You put the values there, and you will get this P plus Q tangent inverse P by Q into delta Q plus P tangent inverse Q by P delta P. This expression is exact as may be demonstrated by noting that if you differentiate del by del P of the other one, P plus Q, this one, that will come equal to P square by Q square plus P square. The other one will also come P tangent inverse Q by P. If you differentiate by del Q, that will also come equal to this. So this is also one of the conditions there which is satisfied, and this transformation is canonical. There are many examples I had, but just for illustration, I thought I just show you one. Generating function. By Hamilton's principle, the canonical transformation must satisfy the condition that delta of T1 to T2 L dt equal to 0 and delta of T1 to T2 small l dt equal to 0. This will be satisfied if there is a function g such that dg by dt is equal to L minus L. Then G is called generating function. So these are the basic definitions. The Hamilton-Jacobi equation, del S by del T plus H, function of P alpha, Q alpha and T equal to 0, or del S by del T plus H. Then you can replace P alpha by del S by del Q alpha and Q alpha T equal to 0. So these are Hamilton-Jacobi equations. Now I give an example to show you how it simplifies. Let us adopt, this is a harmonic oscillator, and this the Hamiltonian is half P1 square plus P2 square plus omega square by 2 x1 square plus x2 square. So all are involved, P x1, x2, P1, P2, for a point mass moving with 2 degrees of freedom, where the value of omega is constant, angular frequency is constant. This the corresponding canonical equations we can write. dxi by ds equal to del h by del pi, that is pi, and dpi by ds equal to del h by del qi equal to minus omega square xi. So these are the Hamilton's equations, where s is independent variable. By elimination of pi of the second order, we will get a second order equation. So this is the equation of the harmonic oscillator, which we have studied many times. So x double dash plus omega x equal to 0 is we get. Now let us adopt a generating function. This is generating function. S equal to minus 1 by 2 omega sigma j is equal to 1 to 2 pj square tangent omega xj bar. So now we use the canonical transformation. The xj minus del s by del pj, we get these values, and pj bar, and then convert the old one into the new variables. And when you convert the old one into new variables, your Hamiltonian becomes simply this. So your two variables are not there. Now this is very easy to get the solution. H is equal to P1 var plus, in terms of new variables, you got Hamiltonian H is equal to P1 var plus P2 var. So that is how the great advantage we get by this method. All are not solvable by this method, but wherever it is solvable, it gives a great advantage. Now there are 4 types of transformations: type 1, type 2, type 3, type. You can see there the px is involved, pj bar and xj are involved, then xj bar pj are involved, or pj bar pj is involved, or xj bar xj is involved. So all the different kind of combinations with the two, that x1, x2, x3, these different kind of canonical transformation can be, depending upon the kind of problem one can have. But as I told you, it's not just every problem you can solve by this. With canonical transformation, the restricted three-body problem, this becomes simple. Minus half L square minus R. The equations of motion with the new canonical variables LG in the fixed coordinate system R. They are in the fixed coordinate system. These are the equations in the planar case. So they become so simple. R is the perturbing with respect to mu, your perturbing function. The other two-body equations, they become very simple. So this also we will see when time comes. Zabay has given a good derivation in terms of de Nolly's variables. That also we can have a look sometime. Secular differential equations. Now, when you write the, for example, the Earth's potential, you write, and then you find out an average over the mean anomaly. This is over the mean anomaly here. G1 by 2 pi, G0 to 2 pi V dm. So only J2 term you have taken. Earth's potential, this is lambda here. So you have taken the J2 term only in this. And then these are the equations of motion. And then the value of after this is easily solvable, integrable. And the integrated value comes, one can get easily into a suitable form. And then when we integrate them, and when we find out the equations of motion from here, from these equations, these equations from here, you are seeing these equations here, then we will get this m dot is equal to L dot. So this is the change due to oblateness in the mean anomaly. And that is how, this is three-dimensional. Okay, so the mean anomaly comes, that is what we use in restricted three-body problem, the change in the mean motion. It is related, mean anomaly change is related to mean motion also. So this is the one, and this is small omega, and this we have not included so far restricted three-body. This is what I have been talking, that we have now included these things. This is three-dimensional, but we don't need a three-dimensional because we are taking only a planar this thing in terms of when the primaries are moving in the plane. But supposing primaries are moving in a three-dimension, that say again they will be moving in a plane only. So you don't need the three-dimensional, you need only a planar thing. But in planar, these effects are also to be. So that's what we have added now in our recent research, where the mean motion has increased further. So now we will talk about the Levi-Civita, because this is the one with paper in which is Ziasaglia paper deals with Levi-Civita. So Tullio Levi-Civita, 29th March 73 to 29 December 41, was an Italian mathematician, most famous for his work on absolute differential calculus, tensor calculus, and its application to theory of relativity, but who also made significant contribution to other areas. He was a pupil of Gregorio Ricci Curbastro, the inventor of tensor calculus. That's why he also worked in the tensor calculus area. His work included foundational papers in both pure and applied mathematics, celestial mechanics, notably on the three-body problem, analytic mechanics, the Levi-Civita separability conditions in the Hamilton-Jacobi equation. This was an important thing which for restricted three-body problem, and hydrodynamics. Levi-Civita was born into an Italian Jewish family in Padua. He was the son of Giacomo Levi-Civita, a lawyer and former senator. He graduated in 1892 from the University of Padua, Faculty of Mathematics. In 1894, he earned a teaching diploma, after which he was appointed to the Faculty of Science, Teachers College in Pavia. In 1898, he was appointed to the Padua Chair of Rational Mechanics, where he met and in 1914 married Livia Trevisani, one of his pupils. He remained in his position as Padua until 1918, when he was appointed to the chair of higher analysis at the University of Rome. In another 2 years, he was appointed to the chair of mechanics there. Analytical dynamics was an important aspect of Levi-Civita's studies. Many of his articles examine the three-body problem. He wrote articles on hydrodynamics and on systems of differential equations. He is credited with improvements to the Cauchy-Kowalski theorem, on which he wrote a book in 1931. In 1933, he contributed to work on the Dirac equation. He developed the Levi-Civita field, a system of numbers that included infinitesimal quantities. The Royal Society awarded him the Sylvester Medal in 1922 and elected him as a foreign member in 1930. He became an honorary member of the London Mathematical Society, of the Royal Society of Edinburgh, and of the Edinburgh Mathematical Society. All his mathematical works are published in the six volumes of his collected works. Now I have made some background for this paper to take up. This is the paper on which Professor Bhatnagar did his PhD. What Professor Bhatnagar did is this is a restricted three-body problem. He extended his study to elliptic restricted three-body problem, and also he extended this study to three-dimensional restricted three-body problem, of course, to the order of mu. What he said is, because most of the planets, they are moving only near to our in the plane in which our Earth is moving around Sun, ecliptic plane. So they are not going very far away. So that mu also works. So that he felt that is very important contribution, because it goes to three dimension. And also he worked on restricted four-body problem. He extended this to four-body problem. I think these three papers were there. He's basically in his. I will separately look into this when we have this thing. If we need it, we will do it. And then he has worked on elliptic four-body problem, etc. later on. But I think his doctoral thesis was these three problems. One was the elliptic restricted three-body problem on this, and then the three-dimensional extension to this, and then restricted four-body problem. So these three, I think these three played a role in his doctoral thesis. So what I did was I had taken oblateness on this, but let us say I have taken put this full paper into in the PPT here. So periodic orbit of collision in the restricted problem of three bodies. A set of canonical elements is defined for the variables of Levi-Civita regularizing binary collisions. So basically his work was essentially on Levi-Civita. That's why I thought I should talk about Levi-Civita in the restricted three-body problem. Existence of periodic orbits, including the case of collision, is shown by the process of analytic continuation and by a topological approach. So that's what he did. Let us see. Now these are the equations of motion. The equations of motion. Now, because since I have given you some background to Hamiltonian, etc. So that's why first I forgot, but then yesterday I remembered. Then I added all that from yesterday till today. I added the canonical equations of motion. This is two-dimensional. Everything studied is two-dimensional. So the equations of motion are written in Hamiltonian form, and you can see the momentas are written. P1, P2 are there, and x1, x2 are the generalized coordinates. So these are this paper by Zabay and Ziasaglia. You can see that, and both were Professor Bhatnagar's examiners, PhD examiners. Zabay and Ziasaglia, they were there, and in India, Professor Chaudhary, R.K. Chaudhary was his examiner. So these three people were the examiners for him. Viva must have been conducted by Professor Chaudhary. So this paper deals with elliptic restricted three-body problem. It's a very good paper. Maybe when time comes, we will look into this also, because that is still elliptic restricted three-body problem is important. These both circular restricted and elliptic restricted problem are important. Elliptic is more important because the most of the planets are in elliptic orbit around Sun. So when you work on elliptic restricted problem, you can claim that your work is more practical. And if you include the perturbations also, like Sun is source of radiation and Jupiter is a oblate spheroid, and like that, when you add, then things will become more Of course, a lot of work has gone in the literature, but as I told you, that still work can be carried out there, and that especially at the at Jupiter, Sun Jupiter system, the Trojan asteroids are there, so many are there, and L4 at L4, L5, and their motion, whether which model will give the our study, analytical study, and the actual air motion, which one will be giving closeness to that. That model will be certainly will be called as a good model. So this paper is a very good paper. I am having a paper. I was having earlier, but morning also I again downloaded. I thought whether anything is needed for this, but it is not needed. This is on elliptic restricted three-body problem. But because this coordinate synodic is, he has given a reference there, but it's not needed for us immediately here. But when we do elliptic restricted problem lecture, there we will need that paper, because that is maybe one of the fundamental paper on the elliptic restricted problem, equations of motion derivation. See, the major difference in elliptic restricted, you have a Jacobi integral in circular restricted three-body problem, but you don't have a Jacobi integral in elliptic restricted three-body problem. That is the major difference. Here time is the independent variable. There you have to use, that's what they said, and afterwards people are using true anomaly. Then only the primaries are moving, I mean, the pulsating coordinate system is there. So true anomaly is the independent variable, not the time. Now Levi-Civita parabolic transformation, this is there. Levi-Civita, as I was telling earlier also, there are two, because Dr. Bhatnagar at that time when I started my research, he said 2 papers were there. He says you try to get them. And luckily they were available in NPL in Delhi. So I got the photocopies of both the papers. One is I think in Italian, but one is in English. I don't know whether it is in Italian or English. I'm not remembering also. So this is a parabolic transformation which he utilized, because the main thing is regularizing, the R which is coming at singularity, that has to go, and that's what he used this transformation. And now the new Hamiltonian came, and S, this is the generating function generated by this, and then these are the and then the new Hamiltonian come, and you can see R1. Now he has shifted it to the central body, the more massive primary. The center has been shifted, because you are getting the distance from there only, because there is I1 square plus I2 square. Other one is this one. So these are the new coordinates, and the momentas are there. And this is your R, d theta, R1, all those things are defined. A new Hamiltonian has come, R1 into, so it is multiplied by R1. So your singularity, whatever singularity was there, below mu by R1. So R1 will go. So your R1 will not appear now. Only R1 by R2 will come there, but that will be go into the mu terms, into the perturbing terms. But basically, in the two-body problem around because he has to generating a solution, complete solution around the two-body, around the bigger primary or more massive primary. So this is how this new Hamiltonian come. The quantity k given by 4 is 0 along any solution of the differential equation, because he has taken in 3 this, and vice versa. Every solution of this equation must belong to k is equal to 0 manifold. In other words, the first integral k is equal to constant obtained from equation 3 has a value which is not arbitrary, it must be 0. This is the important condition you can see from here. Now what he proposed, you see how they write, now I propose. They don't write, now we propose. I now propose to write the Hamiltonian k in the form k0 plus mu k1, where k0 he writes, and for two-body problem the energy is negative, so that is minus epsilon. And for k1 he has written mu is there, k0 is negative. We consider a two-body problem in rotating coordinates with bounded orbits. The limitation epsilon less than 1 is self-evident. The form given to k0 ensures that the orbits which are analytically continued from two-body orbits will belong to k is equal to 0 manifold. That is, they are solution of the regularized equations of the restricted problem. It's a very nice, but we need to read it a number of times. It's not very easy, just understand. What today I will say, you will have to, those who are interested in this, they have to read it carefully, and then they will understand it. In order to solve the, now Hamilton-Jacobi equation has come, associated with K0. So this is a standard technique to solve this Hamilton-Jacobi equation. So he has written in this form, and now you have to separate it. Separability is required. Introducing polar coordinate. Now we introduce polar coordinate. That is your x is equal to r cos theta and y is equal to r sin theta, like that. Phi and that your xi has come. So in this he converted your Cartesian coordinate to polar coordinates. So he has converted to that, and then this may be satisfied by, now this is a generating function. He writes w is equal to u plus 2g phi. This is the most difficult portion which he has to think. So he has thought about it. There are some methods by which you can have some idea also to get something. So hence now from there he gets the he calculates dw. A lot of algebra is there. It's very interesting. The people who are interested in this, they must make notes and solve themselves this. That's what I did at that time, and that's why Dr. told me that you solve them. And he had already, I think he had made the notes for this. So the notes were, I think he gave me. So I understood, and then he said, but you do it yourself. So z is equal to xi square. So the value, and then this function comes. Now again the two roots, the equation is there, and then the sum of the roots and the product of the roots you can write here. Fz is equal to 0. The Fz has two positive roots, and then he writes these things here. Furthermore, Z1 is equal to Z2 gives this. These are all the conditions. Now for circular case, now he comes over here. So he integrates that. You are writing this u only, you are writing whatever you got, you write in integral form now. So you written in integral form, and then now he introduces these parameters. Let the parameter a be defined. Now these are all known. This is the perigee radius, this is the apogee radius, and this is equal to again a into 1. This is again the radial distance. This is r is equal to a into 1 minus e cos. We teach, and this I was giving the lecture, but everybody, all of us who work in space orbital dynamics, we know this is in terms of eccentric anomaly, radial distance. So this he has introduced, and then the equations of motion he has written, and then from it follows then certain things, he has to club his earlier one to the new ones and get into, and then this integral he has to get into the new form. So he gets into this form. This is all algebra. It is solvable. It is not that difficult, because in a journal he cannot write everything, and being a big man, and that journal, that was the best journal that when he published, Celestial Mechanics also came at that time, but this astronomical journal was the very old journal. So publishing in astronomical journal was a difficult thing to publish, and Celestial Mechanics started. No, Celestial Mechanics was not there. It started in '69 only. First volume came in 1969. This paper is in 1967. So all the best papers, used to be in astronomical journal. From America it comes. Indian Astronomical Society, I think they publish it. So now he is introducing L by the relation alpha is equal to this. So he got A and E in terms of these variables, these L and G. Your semi-major axis eccentricity, he has got it. And you see, this became so nice. His Fz, which was defined here, Fz was defined earlier, and this function, and he has simplified into a quite a simple thing. Yeah, his Fz has become this, and L is equal to this, becomes L is equal to this. So he has made all these elements, and then again he is finding out. Finally, he has to get this W, these things he has got, And then now you see his unperturbed Hamiltonian has become in terms of only these L and G. The other two have not come. See, L, small l and small g are not there, only L and G. Momenta only have come. Angular frequencies have not come. That's how normally we write. C0 is a constant. So this is how his Hamiltonian came. And now equations of motion you can write corresponding to your, first you can write with respect to K0. So when you write K0, this is equal to 0 because L is not there. And so L is equal to L0 constant. G is, similarly, G is not there. So G is equal to G0 constant. And this will be, this L and G has come. And argument phi also you can obtain. For he is doing very general. E not equal to 1, E equal to 1, parabolic orbit also. So he has made a very, very fine contribution to literature. Such papers come very rarely, very difficult. They are very fundamental. So Xi1, Xi2 he has located. And then these pi's, his momentas are calculated by here. And then he has all his things, in terms of canonical variables, he has located his old. So old to new, he can always get his old ones also. Xi1, Xi2, pi1, pi2, and he started from the beginning. And phi is given by phi also, yes, is given by 22. Phi has already made phi this in terms of the canonical variable Lg and small lg. These are all here. This is a very, that is the beauty of the Hamiltonian thing, that final product comes very simple. But of course, in between it's a complicated affair. All these he has written for all Eg is equal to 0, E is equal to 1, etc. Because he made the paper very, very, very general. So now this Hamiltonian is written full mu, and this he has written. So all these parameters are there. Your R1, R2, R1 as I told you, from the center, and R2 value. R2 value also in terms of the new variables he has written. So this R1, R2 have come in terms of that, and this is the C0 mu as a function of mu. And R also he has written. R the perturbing function also he has written in terms of the variables. So equations of motion are known. Say these equations of motion also, if somebody understands this thing carefully, one can utilize these things also in some research. Wherever you are doing planar, in a plane, if you are doing some research, and especially, we have to think whether we can find out our Lagrangian points, etc., from this kind of research. Whether that is possible from here, the singularities, etc., or how they come, because all the things, must be somewhere they must be connected. So that should be also, some people must think, see, youngsters are there, and maybe they may be able to think something of that kind. So the periodic solution, he has used the Barar has done Barar method of this thing, analytic continuation. He followed the same thing, and Barar was also my PhD examiner, Barar and Denby. So I was also gifted to have good examiners. So that is also a luck for you. So this is how P by Q is. These are all commensurate. These are normal methods. Periodic orbits when mu is not equal to 0. So you calculate this one. These are all, one can read it. These are all different conditions, symmetric, etc. One can find out. Not a major issue. And L and G you are written in this form, and when they are in commensurability, you have they will be commensurable when PQ are integers to each other. These are all, see, you can see how much, a lot of efforts he has put. These orbits also he has put them. And then he has put these things also he has put. Cartesian coordinates, orbits. Here at this stage, it is sufficient for analytic continuation to be valid to show that the functional determinant, this determinant should be non-zero for mu is equal to 0 and t is equal to pi by 2. Since L and G are holomorphic in the neighborhood of mu is equal to 0, mu may be set equal to 0 before the derivatives are computed. And therefore, he calculates them, these values. So this comes NL, NG, and minus 2L. And then this is 0. So this into this is cancelled. So minus T by 2 and not equal to 0. And this proves his periodic orbits of second kind. See, first kind means when the circular orbits you are extending to, when you are taking a circular orbit and taking the second primary for mu not equal to 0, then that is called periodic orbits of first kind. Second kind means elliptic orbits. So for elliptic orbits, when you are having around the two-body problem, and when you are considering the mu also there, like you take around Earth the elliptic problem, and you take moon, effect of moon also, so mu will come into the play there. Then that becomes the periodic orbits of second kind. And third kind is in three-dimensional coordinate system. So third kind anyway for him is not there because he is studying only the planar restricted 3 by 3. So the proof of existence for sufficiently small values of mu is thus completed because it was non-zero. This eccentricity of such orbits can be taken any value. He said that because he has not made any other approximation. So between 0 and 1, anything it can take. 0 and 1 it can go. So this generalizes Barrar's result for periodic orbits of second kind. Barrar's proved this in Denali's variables. And here Ziasaglia has done for his own variables, which he defined. We may call them as Ziasaglia's variables also. However, but this paper I don't know because since later on I did not also work much. How much it has gone to various areas, I have not much idea. But it should go because a very in a regularized system, you don't have singularity. That is a major advantage. However, one should be careful to avoid values of A which lead to infinitesimal body close to the singularity. Okay, this is the condition. So it's worth noting that Moulton in 1913 proved the existence of close collision orbits. Nevertheless, he was not able to classify his orbits as periodic. See, he proved collision orbits, but he could not prove them periodic. Some collision orbits he has located, and Moulton also was a great mathematician, since he did not continue the orbits through a collision. This was also recognized by Winter. Winter also has written a textbook where he was also another great man. In one of his remarkable papers, Levi-Civita 1904 established a relation which is satisfied along a collision orbit in the restricted problem. His main result may be stated as follows. The invariant relation for collision orbits can be analytically continued from the one that corresponds to the problem of two bodies, which in this paper is given by G is equal to 0, which means that when mu is not equal to 0, the condition G is equal to 0 will change to G plus mu, function of Lg, small g, capital G mu equal to 0 for mu sufficiently small. Levi-Civita has shown in particular that such a relation is a uniform integral of the differential equations of motion along any collision orbit. This integral is a power series in terms of distances from the origin. The series is convergent, but it has been shown that the radius of convergence is generally small. In order to show the validity of this continuation, orbits corresponding to case B are considered. For e is equal to 1, the orbit starts as an ejection from the origin and returns to it at every quarter of a period. When mu is not equal to 0, the initial condition generating the above two-body orbit will not in general conserve its characters, periodicity and collision. Nevertheless, it was shown how the periodicity can be conserved by continuation. Consider now a periodic orbit, mu not equal to 0, starting at the origin as an ejection orbit. Levi-Civita condition for collision, theta dot plus 1 is equal to rho, function of rho theta, may be transformed to canonical elements, like he defined in his canonical variables, and in fact tangent theta is equal to x2 upon x1 minus mu, or in terms of xi1 xi2, that is equal to tangent to phi. Now, so that theta is equal to 2 phi. Now equation 34 becomes, this equation 34 becomes 2 phi dot plus 1 is equal to rho of function of rho into rho comma 2 phi. And since rho is equal to r raised to power half, so he substitute then. On the other hand, he calculates phi dash, etc. And then this is the condition he obtains: g plus 2 psi 5 f psi of 2 phi equal to 0, which corresponds to equation 33. At t is equal to 0, tau is equal to 0. Equation 36 is automatically satisfied since there both g0 and psi 0 are 0. Moreover, when psi is equal to 0, it follows that z is equal to 0. And he got this thing. So he proved the collision orbits also with the help of Levi-Civita condition. Thus proved. So this is the that is how he found out that function also in terms of his variables. So he has shown another way to show existence of such orbit is reason to. He has given some other reason. Anyway, I'm not discussing those things. So you see acknowledgement. You see that acknowledgement whom he is given. Dr. Zabé, Dr. A. Diprit, and Dr. W. H. Jeffries. All three are big fellows. All three were big people. Zabé was a big person, and Diprit was, of course, a very big man, and Jeffries also, who did a lot of work. Whose comments contributed to the, that means these three people have studied his work. So this work came not just like that. It was even these people must have helped him also to improve upon his research. This work was partially sponsored by a contract. The NASA people gave money while the author was working as a consultant at the Yale Astronomy Department. It is the author's duty to express. So there's and you see the references: Barar, Birkhoff, and Levi-Civita, 2 papers, and Moulton, Poincare, another great man. We have to sometime, when we will do, Poincare's surface of section, that time we will study, we will see his life thing, because he has contributed so much to the celestial mechanics. And this paper is there, this Zabé and Giasaglia, 64. So this is on elliptic restricted three-body and Winter. See, all the references are, you can say, are great references. And so this paper, I have full, everything is there on this paper, which I have. It took me time, but anyway, I thought it is worthwhile to document it as this thing, so that it will be there with those who want to do work. Now let me tell what I did with this. I did periodic orbits of collision in the restricted problem of the three body when the bigger. See, at that time my knowledge was only bigger. So that's what I have been advocating now. Please don't write bigger, write more massive. Because Denby later on taught me that it is not bigger, it is the more massive. It is the mass which is important, not the size. Is an oblate spheroid. So this was, as I told you also, Dr. Bhattacharya said, no, I don't want to be author because you have done yourself, and I don't want. I said, sir, paper will get accepted early. If your name is there, he said, no, you should get more confidence. I want you to get confidence. So that's how I am only the author. And these are the first paper in my career. And incidentally, it was the first paper of the issue of the Indian Journal of Pure Applied Mathematics. And I was so thrilled that I purchased that volume itself. It is there with me. I kept it nicely. And those days, the paper used to be communicated, You can't directly send to the journal. So Professor J.N. Kapoor, he was in Kanpur IIT. So because he knew, Dr. Bhatnagar knew him, so he said, you send to him, he will communicate. And you see, even after revision, it was accepted so quickly. Received on this after revision, and all post, everything is included there. So it was accepted very quickly, because oblateness was a new thing. That's why it was accepted so quickly. So hopefully it must have gone to Professor but even then, it goes by mail, etc. So it takes time, but it has taken so less time. So I have taken this Giasaglia's paper, the paper which I have just told you, and what I did was I have added the oblateness term. You see, this is the oblateness term. I added this. I studied McKeskey book, was there with me. So McKeskey book has got this thing. This thing was there. And then McKeskey book included this thing, and then follow the same method. It will be, see, this is there, I is the I3 minus I3. IE, I3 is the axial moment of inertia, and I3 is the equatorial moment of inertia of the oblate body. And this terms comes from oblateness. McCaskey page also I have given, page 166 or 63 of the Bigger primary. So this is Bigger is going on. That time only Bigger was known to me. See, for the regularization of solutions, we introduced Levy-Civil task. So they say same, following same. There is no change. The same way. So it goes. The equations go. Only I is introduced there. So this will continue in the same fashion. Continue. Now I have bifurcated. The K0 is the Giasaglia's Hamiltonian unperturbed, and this is due to the perturbation. Sternay gives, Dr. Bhatnagar told me you read Sternay book. Why it was there in Delhi University Library. So I studied that, and he writes the separation of these things. So from there this clue came. Minus I by 2 R1 square. This thing can be written like this, and then this can be written in this fashion, and then K1 the perturbed Hamiltonian because of oblateness. It is also unperturbed. Not mu comes only here, so here mu doesn't come. So this is in terms of the canonical variables can be written. R1 can be, because we know R1 Jasaglia has done everything, so we have to only put these things. We have to do only algebra. Rest he already did. So these are all the equations with respect to K1. So they were all formulated. Now it comes the equations, general equations also can be written like that. K0 plus K1 mu, and then you can write. Sternay was helpful there, because Sternay, see, some book has to give you, some idea. So Sternay book was good. I still have a book. My student Harish was having a copy, so he has given me, and that is a good book actually. Yeah, even it contains a lot of good information. So now K2 is the same thing there. Okay, does not because you can borrow from Giasaglia's paper. Now existence of periodic orbit, the method was different, because Dr. Bhatnagar used Dr. Chaudhary's method. Yeah, and Dr. Chaudhary, let me tell you, Dr. Chaudhary had 2 doctorates, one in functional analysis from India and another doctorate in celestial mechanics from Russia. So he was a rare person, and he was one of the, you can say, first person, maybe one of the first person in India who learned this subject so closely. And he wrote a number of fundamental papers where glimpse of his functional analysis knowledge was clearly seen. So this paper was where he studied periodic orbits. So Bhatnagar, both these, he used this technique. I also use the same technique. So you write the Hamiltonian, and you can write in this form, and these are the conditions. Duboshin is a Russian, he's a very great mathematician, celestial mechanist, who has got his spelling has gone wrong here. Duboshin, I should have been there here. 64. So these conditions are to be satisfied, and then this was anyway general solution. So I got the help from Dr. Bhatnagar and Dr. Chaudhary's paper. So all these things, and then this Hamiltonian came. Now I need this. My R0 is both with oblateness also. So my I0, this I is there. This I0 has come. So this was there. So I have to get that non-zero. So non-zero analytically, no, we don't know. We were not knowing numerical analysis that time. Though I studied numerical analysis in my BSc honors final subject, but computers was still away from us. So this R0 we have written here, and we have written there, and then we found out these things. And you see here, this has clearly come non-zero. See, this is all positive terms. All these terms are positive, so minus. So that became non-zero. So that became non-zero, and that's how the periodic orbits of first kind. Actually, they are first kind only because it's taken E value was not as such there. So, and then these things also proved. So that's how my first paper of my career came, and I'm sharing you with you. And this, all the other things I did, but that was the important thing. But then anyway, I gave him in the author is grateful to Dr. Bhatnagar for suggesting the problem and his guidance and encouragement during the preparation of this paper. So this anyway, I because I wanted him to be they requested him to be the author, but he declined. So this was the only thing I could do at that time. So you can see these are the references.